Good evening, and welcome to the May 23rd, 2024 meeting of the Longview City Council. Tonight, our prayer and pledge will be led by Chad Patterson, the Chief Executive Officer of the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Big Pines. The organization's summer program will be starting soon with activities running June the 3rd through August the 2nd. Please rise.
Mayor Mack, Council, it's an honor to be here on behalf of the kids in the county, in the city tonight, so thank you for this opportunity. Let's pray. Father, thank you for the freedom to gather. Thank you that we can come into a room in our city and call you out by name. God, thank you that you are standing at every gate in this city, represented by our council and our mayor and those that have just been elected. God, we pray your strength and your favor, your courage, your protection, your wisdom, your discernment, your unity, your heart in them and for them and through them as they love our city and love every neighbor. God, we thank you for the privilege of calling you out tonight. I pray that you would bless this meeting, bless the direction forward. We love you so much, Jesus, and it's your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I'm Dr. Shalonda Adams, and on behalf of the Boys and Girls Club, I am one of the Longview Council members. And now our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Before City Secretary Angie Shepherd presents the oath of office to the new council members and the mayor, we have tokens of our appreciation for the outgoing council members. Mr. Carpenter, please come forward. I'm sure you can relate to this, Tim. Thank you for your service to the city. I've been a valuable member of the council. You can use this, and you can use that for firewood, okay? It's time. Fresh stick flowers from my garden. Thank you for your service to this community. Nona, you've been a pleasure to be with us. Always, we've grown up together, we've done this together, we made it together. Who would have ever thought? I know, right? And a little glass for you. I'll carry this for you back to the place. Come on up. Which one's here? Oh, come on up, girls. Come on. Help Mama out. Boy, have we changed. Check it out. Thank you so much.
And as you may know, we had a reception on May 9th for Mayor Mack, where the community had an opportunity to show their appreciation for his decades of public service. Our media development team has put together a short video, a few photos taken during his tenure that we would like to share at this time.
Wow, that was nice. Did you notice the one constant in there that every time they showed pictures of I'm getting older and Kelly's not? I don't really understand how that works, but it works. You know, you all have to understand, this is a phenomenal organization. Over the last 9 years, we've accomplished a number of incredible things. And if you know the structure of any organization, that all starts from the top. If you don't have good leadership, then your organization will never flourish. And I've been fortunate to work with really and truly three of the best city managers you could ever imagine, starting with David Willard, then Keith Bonds, and now Rollin, and with Mary Ann assisting Rollin. It's been a pleasure to know that things are in the hands of people that care about this community and will continue to do things in the right way, and that's very comforting. But every organization has to have a level of leadership, and the leadership in this community, when I say community, I'm talking about our city employees, which is a vast number of individuals that serve our community. It's incredible. Our department heads, Bonnie Hubbard, Sean Hara, Dietrich Johnson, Michael Shirley, Angela Cohen, Laura Hill, Josh Gamble, John Albertson, Dwayne Archer, J.P. Steelman, Anthony Boone, and Mike Bishop, who was here during my early tenure. Those department heads lead this organization, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. And sitting in this chair, I get to watch it a lot because we go through budgets and crises and good times and a lot of heartache, but you see how every one of these department heads handle their department, and that's what makes Longview and our department so special. And I've said it 1,000 times, and I'll continue to say it. We have the best public safety in all of Texas, all of anywhere. Thanks to you two guys. Thank you so much. Y'all are just awesome. I really appreciate all of you. But it doesn't stop there. You know, throughout my 9 years here, Richard Yakeley, he has come on and just helped me tremendously. Terry Miller, Scott Shellhorst, y'all are the ones that make all these things look so good. They make things easy when we have to do productions, and they just always make sure they're on time and on spot, and I appreciate that. I've had a wonderful time with our city secretaries. I started with Shelley Ballinger. I'm going to end with Angie Shepard. Lily Duenas has been here. Y'all have helped me so much. And Brittany Booth, the city manager secretary, bless her heart, she runs back and forth to my office. It's just like she has a fast track back and forth. Their commitment to making sure this thing runs smoothly is just, it's outstanding. Jim Finley, Robert Ray, thank you for your service. Judge Merriman, Terry Jackson, you all keep the municipal court going, and it's a strong organization all the way through. Council members that started with me that are no longer on this dais, Ed Moore, David Wright, Kasha Williams, and Sidney Allen. I know Sidney was in the audience tonight. I appreciate their service, and the ones that are still here and those that are leaving. Y'all have done yourselves well and made Longview proud. You know, people said I didn't have time to do this job because I had a full-time job. And I still have a full-time job, and I still had time to do this job. So don't think because you work someplace you can't serve your community, because if you think that way, you're not thinking clearly, because we want people like that serving the community. And I was able to do that through so many hardworking people in my office that kept me on track. You know, I have office manager Charlotte Wilkes, who started when I started in 2015 here. I've had Cheryl O'Hara with me for 34 years in my office, who keeps me where I'm supposed to be. Chelsea Davis runs my surgery schedule so that I'm not in surgery when I'm supposed to be in a meeting. I'm not in a meeting when I'm supposed to be in surgery. They've kept me in line, and my assistant Lori Wheeler, who is my both right and left hands, have kept me in my surgery position for the 28 years in my practice. Those are invaluable people in my life through this process. And it continues to expand past that. This is not a one-person job, even though it's one person sitting here. It requires a lot of moving parts to make this job a successful job with any of these sitting up here. Julie Woods is a huge reason why this 9 years has been successful. I asked Julie for 90 days to run my campaign, 90 days. Because that's really all it would take, 90 days. Well, 9 years and 90 days later, she's still sitting back there and still helping me with everything that I do. From The campaign to my social media, you cannot imagine how social media has affected these last 9 years. We went from not even having a social media page to a page that has over 30,000 followers, and every time we click a button, we have 75,000 people seeing what we're having to say about what's going on in our community. And that's a huge undertaking, and she is just an amazing person at doing things like that. Every speech I've ever read or written or said, she's had a hand in that. Letters to Longview, the Go Giver Gala was part of Julie's brainchild. The book club that we did here in Longview that's never been done before, that really connected us to a part of the community that I don't have I'm not a book club kind of guy. I'm just not. But it was a lot of fun, and we got to connect with different people on a different level. Letters to the News Journal. The list is just too long to tell you how important someone like Julie has been for me, and it's been at zero charge to the city of Longview. She's never accepted a dime of payment, and she's bridged a gap between me and the staff at the city that's allowed us to do things without costing the city any money. It's a testament to her ability to do that, and I appreciate that, Julie. It's very, very important to me. And then there was COVID, and that's where we had to really buckle down and keep everybody informed of what was going on a daily basis, 5, 6, 7, 10 times a day. Chief Steelman, Chief Bishop was here at the time. That was a time when we were in a dark place in Longview, and through information that we were able to put out on our social media page, I think it helped the community, because fear comes from the unknown. And the more you know, the less fearful it is. And getting people informed of what was going on was part of what helped us all get through this, and I really appreciate that. It just goes beyond saying what all that has meant to me. And then there's my family. Kelly, who wanted no part of this for obvious reasons, but she has stood by me the entire time, because she is that kind of a wife, a God-fearing, God-strong rock of a woman that has always supported me, even though she didn't want to do this, and I know why she didn't want to do it, because of things that have taken place. But I appreciate her strength and her stability, standing behind me and never wavering, always being there for me, a shoulder to cry on, a wall to bounce things off of, just someone to talk to, and just know that someone was in my corner all the time. It's unbelievable. And my family, my kids, all three of them have gone through this with me, and they have supported me as well. My brothers, my family, my mom, who's in the back of the room, Marion, who never misses a meeting, whether she's here, if she's not, she's on the TV watching, and she always sends me a note afterwards saying, "Good meeting, go relax, have some dinner, and don't talk so fast." It's every single meeting she says the same thing. But, family support like that is so important. And the family is the one that suffers the most through something like this. And I can tell you, there are people that have spent 9 years trying to discredit me, spread lies and rumors about me, things that are not true about my family and my friends. Well, that free pass ends today. Okay? That free pass is over with today. No more free passes on that. To the citizens, love one another. Love Longview. Cheer for your neighbor. Erase these lines that we've created in our community that create division. Remove them from how we think of Longview. Paddle our boat together. It's so much easier going the same direction than fighting each other going in different directions. There is no power for change greater than a community discovering what it stands for and wants the most. So, one Longview. Please remember that. To Kristen and the council, focus on the city, not on yourselves. Represent Longview, not just a part of it. Have vision. Look to the future. Stand strong in the face of adversity, because there will be adversity. Remember what you were elected for. Do what is right, do it thoughtfully, and do it with honor. Always focus on the big picture. That's what we're here for. And I want to thank God for giving me the health to do this for 9 years, for what wisdom He gave me. I appreciate that greatly. Patience, humility, desire, and an opportunity to serve this community. I am very grateful for that. So, with that, this is for me. Study hard, have some fun. Say your prayers. I love you all.
I guess I'll take over.
Election items A.
Kristen, if you and your family would come forward.
And I guess he's gone.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to stand on the big X. You guys get to stand on the.
Nice to have y'all with her tonight. Kristen, if you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Kristen Ishihara,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of mayor
of mayor
of the city of Longview
of the city of Longview
and the state of
and the
Texas,
state of Texas,
and will,
and will,
to the best of my
to
ability,
the best of my ability,
preserve,
preserve,
protect, and defend
protect, and defend
the Constitution and
the
laws
Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Kristen.
Love you, bye.
We will change out your name. There we go. All right, District 1, Derek Conley. If you'll just stand here on the big X. And raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Derek Conley,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of City Council
of City Council
of the City of Longview
of the City of Longview
and the state of
the
Texas,
state of Texas,
and will,
and will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
preserve,
preserve,
protect, and defend
protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state.
so help me God.
So help me God.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll take a picture together.
Sure.
Congratulations.
Place to stand over there?
You're up here now.
And Miss Shannon Moore. Oh. Hi. If you will stand right over here, okay? Great job, thank you. If you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Shannon Moore,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the
the
office
duties of the office
of council member
of council member
of the City of
of the
Longview
city of Longview
and the state of
and the
Texas,
state of Texas,
and will,
and will,
to the best of my
to
ability,
the best of my ability,
preserve,
preserve,
protect, and defend
protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. It's great to have you.
That's kind of weird up there, girl. Just get worse.
Well, thank you for bearing with us during that adjustment period. Andy, I want to thank you for your leadership. You leave big shoes to fill, and I'm honored to do my best to do so. Thank you for everything that you've done for the city. Tim and Nona, thank you guys for your service. It is a sacrifice, and it does not go unnoticed that you've been faithful servants to the city of Longview, so thank you. Derek and Shannon, I'd love to give you a minute to just say anything you want to say. Thank anybody that's here, if you'd like to take the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that this is very humbling, and I appreciate the people that are here, exist, and the people that are leaving before me. And I love, the gentleman mentioned God being in this room, and I think God's placed me in this spot, and I'm just going to do the very best I can to my ability to represent those around me. And thank you guys for the opportunity to serve.
First of all, I really want to thank God for placing it on my heart to run and to be able to sit in this seat and serve the city of Longview. And I actually want to thank my team, how small it was, but what we did in 7 months, some people couldn't do in 3 years. So I thank y'all, and I thank my family for being there for me. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd also just like to say thank you to those that helped and supported me and were friends along the way. It is a true privilege to serve, and I thank you for your support and your friendship, and ask again for your continued prayers throughout the time that we'll be serving together. And if council wouldn't mind to indulge me, I'd actually like to say a quick prayer just to bless our newly seated council, and I am going to make you hold my hands. I'm sorry. If you bow your head with me, please. Dear Lord, I come to you tonight to ask your blessing and favor on our newly seated council for the city of Longview. As Derek said, we are each here placed under your guidance and your provision for a reason, and we each bring skills, experience that are individual and unique that we contribute to the body to better Longview, to better your service. I pray for our wisdom, I pray for our humility, and I pray peace, protection, and strength for each one of us, and that we do your will. Thank you for your guidance. Thank you for loving us. It's in your name that we pray. Amen. Thank you, guys. First, I have a presentation of a proclamation designating May 23rd as Stop the Bleed Day. If I could have anybody for that proclamation, come on up. Thank you, guys. You don't usually have to wait so long for proclamations, but today is your lucky day. Come on up. All right, this is a proclamation for May 23rd, Stop the Bleed Day. Whereas the Longview EMS has requested that the mayor by proclamation recognize today as Stop the Bleed Day in the city of Longview, and whereas the month of May is recognized as National Stop the Bleed Month. Stop the Bleed recognizes the importance of residents learning techniques to control bleeding from serious injury. First responders know that the community's assistance with time-sensitive bleeding control can help bridge the gap between a call to 911 and the arrival of emergency services. Being empowered with the knowledge and ability to make a difference in a person's life is something we should all take part in. And now, therefore, I, Mayor, by the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim the week of May 23rd as Stop the Bleed Day in the city of Longview. Thank you, guys. Next, I have a number of citizen comment cards. We will start and go in the order received. Each citizen that wishes to make a comment will receive 3 timed minutes and will be asked to state their full name as they begin comments. First, I have Kelly Heitkamp, and I believe some of our folks may be in the overflow. If you guys wouldn't mind to help me collect anyone that may be out there. Thank you. If you don't mind to state your full name, and we'll start your 3 minutes.
Congratulations. I'm so glad to have you as a mayor. I think this is wonderful for the city. My name is Kelly Heitkamp. I'm an animal welfare attorney in Longview, Texas, and I have drafted, with the request of various rescues and other members of the city of Longview and some within the county, some revisions to Chapter 13. Specifically, and I've given it all to the council, so I hope y'all have had a chance to look at them. Specifically, mandatory spay-neuter. This isn't just a direct result of my district, which is now Shannon Moore, our district, but it's a direct result of a series of things that have happened since COVID, with all the animals and the influx and the overwhelming number, and the fact that there are no other options that I see. If somebody has a suggestion, I am certainly open to anything that improves upon my presentation. Sorry, I ran from the other side, and I guess I'm not in that great a shape. I'm certainly open to that. My office number is 903-295-7800. You can call me. I'll come meet with you. We can talk about my proposals for mandatory spay-neuter. I don't want anybody to start getting upset. There are exceptions to all of this. There are things financially to provide for people who can't afford it. There are exceptions with respect to vets and to breeders. This is not intended to impose a penalty on pet owners. I would never do that. It is intended to protect animals from overpopulation, from reckless ownership, from people dumping. In other words, it's to protect animals and people from what we find is happening all through Longview, but mostly in my district right now. Also, I'm proposing mandatory microchipping, which seems like common sense. Both of these things are coming out of other rural communities in Texas. This is not some fiction that I've created. I literally am taking it from other places because I know that's going to be more palatable to our community. And then I've got mandatory registration. There are lots of things to talk about. I understand people are going to get concerned and say, what is this going to cost me? I have a response for that. We've got a lot of money coming from the county and the city already that would cover that. We also have grants. There are lots of things we can do to keep this from being a hardship. But I don't see any alternatives other than mandatory spay-neuter, microchipping, and registration. Otherwise, we're going to be living in some kind of third world country. Also, another requested change from the community seems to be the rabies vaccine. The TVMA and Texas A&M have agreed that vaccines once a year could be problematic. So my proposal is we follow Kilgore and go back to, well, I don't know if we've ever been back to it in this community, but once every 3 years, which I believe is the requirement and request of Pfizer and Merck anyway, the manufacturers. So again, this is just preliminary to say hello. This is what I have. I encourage you to call me. I want to talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the list, I have Jim Ross Lightfoot.
Hold that for me. Thank you. Madam Mayor, members of the council, good evening. As you said, my name is Jim Ross Lightfoot. I happen to live in metropolitan White Oak, but we're trying to move to Longview as we're downsizing, so if any of you want to buy a home, we can make that happen a whole lot quicker. Anyway, I come to you tonight to address 2 ordinances regarding sleeping or lounging on public property and camping within the city limits. These ordinances may be challenged in court soon due to possible violations of our 8th Amendment rights. And the 8th Amendment reads, excess bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor criminal and unusual punishment inflicted. It's in our U.S. Constitution, and it's in our Bill of Rights. Your proposed ordinance blatantly violates the Eighth Amendment rights of the unhoused in Gregg County, basically. And I strongly articulated my concerns about handling the homeless in an op-ed that was published in the Longview News Journal, drawing from my extensive experience as a police officer, 12 years as a U.S. congressman, and many years as a broadcast journalist. During my 85 trips around the sun, I witnessed the struggles of numerous homeless individuals on our planet. But none, I'll tell you, have displayed the exceptional politeness, non-aggression, appreciation, and respect that I've seen from the humans that I've talked with in Longview. The real issue, I think, is not sleeping on a private business's porch after hours. It's the inadequate shelter and housing for those that are in need. The faith-based programs at our two main shelters in Longview do not accommodate individuals with physical disabilities, medical conditions such as cancer and autism, those who use wheelchairs, and veterans who our VA has failed miserably. Arrests and fines are not a solution. They're unjust and cruel punishment for people who they're just simply trying to exist. You must address this situation morally, honorably, and reasonably, and I think you will. Embrace and collaborate with all entities willing to find solutions, not just those who agree with you. Principles before personalities are essential for achieving results. Instead of relying on the good old boys deal caught on camera, I would suggest the real issue is the need for more housing. The increase in crime is not because of the homeless seeking refuge on One Love's porch. Address the drug problem other than focusing on activities of a small nonprofit's private property.
Mr. Lightfoot,
Remember, you're elected to represent everyone, as Mayor Andy just mentioned in his final speech.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Allison Lightfoot.
My name is Allison Lightfoot, and I work at 1015 McCann Road as a case manager. Madam Mayor, members of the council, good evening. After much reflection and prayer, I've come to share some thoughts with you. Specifically, Mr. Conley, as an educator and newly elected council member, you've committed to serve youth. Did you know that we have families we serve that have children that attend Pine Tree ISD? Families desperately trying to get out of poverty and homelessness while making sure their kids can attend school. I can only imagine what a $2,000 fine for each of those parents and possibly each of their children would be if action item A is confirmed. They can't obtain emergency shelter as a family, and they don't feel safe to be separated. The proposed ordinance would eliminate all options, and where are they supposed to go? Mr. Newstead, for your work with Ashbury House and the Boys and Girls Club of the Piney Woods, my family's involvement with the club at the national level and National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, working closely with John Walsh and Robbie Calloway, is what led me to my ultimate career path, is helping others. I would ask you to look at this proposed ordinance as it oversteps civil rights, does absolutely nothing to alleviate the real issue of homelessness and in the community. I'm often called to that there are other organizations around the country that say Matthew 25, and I think that's worth a read when we're dealing with these people that we serve daily. Ms. Gamboa, as I mentioned to Mr. Newstead, we've been involved in various organizations and looking at your activities. We've been involved with CASA. Family preservation and families in crisis is what, even though it doesn't address youth homelessness, we've recently been in contact with a widower father raising his 19-year-old special needs child who still attends school in Longview. He can't go to the shelter without being separated from that child. He's been caring for her for 8 years. He works 30 hours a week while the child is in school. This ordinance would fine each of them $2,000 each for the biological function of sleeping. This ordinance is not the answer to the inability to find safe and adequate shelter in Longview, especially for those we direct by our faith to care for. In this situation, this family encompasses all of that: poor, crippled, and lame and blind. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Koger is next. There he is.
Good evening, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Jim Koger. I live at 1001 Real Road here in Longview. And I want to start by thanking the new people. Welcome to the jungle. Thank you all for the opportunity to talk to you today about homelessness. I believe we live in a city that is uniquely gifted to deal with this problem and do so in such a way that could become a template, not for only East Texas, but for a much wider area. We here in Longview have a history of looking at the big picture with an eye towards the long term and an attitude of caring and compassion. In the past, when a major issue came before the city council, they wisely chose to include the citizens of the city in partnership with the professionals of the city staff, who had come together and presented a thought-out, fact-based, and goal-driven plan, not only address the issue as it exists, but with the expectation of what could become in the future. The city's comprehensive plan is an example of this approach. This issue has a unique aspect as it has the potential to divide citizens with respect to a solution, being so many differing opinions and reasons and attitudes about the homeless and homelessness. I would urge the council to continue this practice of offering to the citizens a chance to become involved as it discusses the issue of homelessness in Longview. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Next is Karen Wright.
My name is Karen Wright. I'm at 1015 McCann Street. Today I would like to talk to you regarding this ordinance. Mayor, you stated in the Longview News Journal that there were 400 beds available in our local shelters that could have plenty of housing for the 197 homeless unsheltered individuals that were accounted for in the PIT count done in January of this year. I understand how you came up with 197 people. However, tell me how that number makes sense when in just this last year, One Love serviced 1,235 uniquely named individuals. I'm coming here to challenge your numbers because I've actually reached out to the shelters and asked for their available beds. Highway 80 may say that they can sleep 150 individuals, however, that is scattered between here and Tyler. House of Disciples has 50 bed max, but those beds are program-based and not emergency-based. Yes, One Love did permit individuals to sleep on our porch. This was not an ideal situation for anyone involved, but we were struggling to find housing solutions for many. We started with 22 people and had it down to 6 by the time we met our deadline. Which brings me to my next point. Even arresting homeless individuals for criminally trespassing, even cutting through a parking lot. Simply put, this seems like an excessively harsh punishment. I acknowledge that laws, rules, and regulations need to be upheld. However, I fail to see how the city expects someone who cannot even afford a stick of gum to pay these fines. I'd be curious to hear what it costs our tax dollars each time a homeless individual is arrested. Steve Pirtle, you have said, and I quote, "These people here are genuinely the worst of the worst and have been ran out of Highway 80 and Salvation Army," end quote. When you were referring to the individuals here at One Love, really the worst of the worst. These so-called individuals, or those people, as you stated, who we were attempting to assist, were ineligible to stay at our local shelters due to special needs, cancer, seizure, mental health, and physical impairments. Did you know that even if a person is a guest in a shelter and they do not call the day that they're not going to make it for that night, they will not allow them to come back for 14 days. The next time it's 30 days. The next time it's 60 days. And make it make sense when half of our people are homeless, don't even have access to a phone. And as I referenced earlier about the program beds, if you're not willing to practice the same beliefs that they're trying to enforce, then you're not going to be a good fit for their program and you're not going to take a program bed. I heard on the body cam footage that was released where you, Steve, referred to Amanda Veazey as a bully. To me, a bully is someone that overuses their power to get their way. I even hear you say how you, quote, wish Amanda would pull up right now, end quote. Exactly why would you wish that? What were your intentions? To confront her, to challenge her, or simply bully her? I'm asking that you, Steve Pirtle, recuse yourself when choosing on this ordinance because due to impartiality and discrimination, as you have made your views on the homeless individuals very clear, and you obviously have biases in this department. This is not someone to have the last laugh. This is not a laughing matter when it's considering a person's well-being and their civil rights. We want a solution that works for everyone, not just one person or the elite. Thank you.
Next is Lashundra Hall.
My name is Lashundra Hall. I recently stayed on one little porch due to homelessness. I have colon cancer stage 3 and a colostomy bag. No shelter would accept me due to the medical conditions. One Love has helped me a tremendous amount. One Love has helped a tremendous amount of people and still trying to help. They are very passionate and caring for the homeless. I'm awaiting for housing, and One Love has contributed to the cause. Everyone is treated equal no matter what their needs are. Since we have had to leave the porch, 8 of our people have went to jail. There's no discrimination from One Love, no matter the age, sex, or race. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda Veazey is next.
Mayor, Council, I don't really know that there's anything left for me to say after that, except for I'm urging each of you to vote no, and please consider your stance on the ordinance.
Thank you. Raphael Veazey. Raphael's next.
All right. Good evening, everyone. First of all, congratulations, Councilman, Councilwoman, Mayor. I want to speak briefly to the action item that's on the agenda tonight regarding the unhoused sleeping on private property. I want to voice my thoughts as well as pose some questions, although I realize that you can't directly answer. A recent news article stated that employees employees at the businesses and residents around One Love Longview feel uncomfortable and unsafe. However, there's another section of town where there are restaurants, auto parts stores, grocery stores, where the unhoused pedestrians or the unhoused make up a part of that pedestrian population. So my question is it okay for the employees and the customers of that section of town to feel unsafe from that population? My question again, next question, is how can the population be considered a valued part of the community when city leaders are working with business owners to force them out of sight? One Love Longview has been accused of bullying the police when they violated no city ordinances. And ironically, the ones who are accusing them of bullying are acting as bullies themselves. I feel that the city leaders are attempting to fix this with a one-size-fits-all solution, but this is not possible to resolve this problem. You've been invited to One Love Longview to see the services provided, but it's disappointing that People would rather be guided by misinformation instead of showing up and learning the truth. To the business owners, to the city council members, align with the business owners. If you're more concerned about the sight or how the perceived sight of unhoused people affect your ability to make money, then be bold enough to say it and stop hiding behind cronyism, power, and influence. The specific use permit issue with the biomining facility was tabled at the last meeting. Some city council members felt there was a lack of information. Some felt that they couldn't vote because of business interests causing a conflict, and they said that morally and ethically couldn't do it. Now, dealing with the unhoused is a humanitarian issue, meeting people where they are to help them, not where you think they should be. And this is where ethics and morality should be a place of concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Lou Tv-Ball is next. There you are.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I stand before you today in various capacities, but primarily I'm an attorney who has spent my adult life representing the sick and the disabled. And I see this ordinance as punishing so many of those people that I've represented because many of them are homeless because of their conditions. There's a misconception that people choose to be homeless, but it's only because they have no choice. There's a misconception that there's plenty of beds, plenty of shelter here in the city of Longview, but the amount of beds does not account for accessibility or the inaccessibility for these people. People are denied access to shelters for many reasons. It could be because they have a pet. It could be because they have a teenage son they can't go to. There can be medical reasons that they're not allowed into some of these shelters. There are rules. And what I'm asking is that we not criminalize homelessness, but let's work together and get the solutions. We understand that there's some concern about people being homeless in this town, and there are people that don't want to see it. They don't want to see the faces. But these people are to be valued because they are human. They're our neighbors. And we need to stick up for them. You know, there's a case pending in the Supreme Court now about the constitutionality of very similar city ordinances, even some that really haven't gone this far. Justice Sotomayor said in that sleeping is a basic necessity, just as important as food or water. And we should not criminalize people for a basic necessity, and that's sleeping. And I've asked the mayor, where would you have these people go? And she had no answer. We have to come up with answers. We have to come up with solutions before we come up with punitive measures. And so I'm asking for us to study maybe some of the other cities that have confronted this problem, like Oklahoma City, Wichita, Kansas, Houston. They all have some pretty good plans in place. And I think if we work together, the business community, the real estate community, and the city, we can come up with a plan because Longview is better than this ordinance. Thank you.
Steve Crane is next.
Good evening. My name is Steve Crane, 3805 Treetop Lane, Longview, Texas, 75604. Welcome, new council people, and congratulations on your winning the mayor's race, Ms. Ishihara. So I find it really interesting that, or actually not interesting, it's very disappointing and concerning to me that one of the first actions that the council is going to be taking is to criminalize homelessness, rather than looking for a solution to this problem. You have people in this room that have spoken, and they're willing to help. They're willing to step up and do what's necessary. I remember back, gosh, I can't remember which hurricane it was, but the flood of people that were homeless because of the horrible storms in New Orleans, that drove people out, and we welcomed them. And we put them up over there at the exhibit building for quite a while. And I understand that was an emergency situation and that there were different circumstances, but if we can do that for those folks, why can't we do something similar for the people that were sleeping on the porch? When somebody's financial bottom line is more important than where a person is going to be able to sleep and be safe, that's an issue. So I'm here to ask you to vote against this ordinance, and you've already heard, let's get together and let's figure out a solution, a long-term solution, because without housing and getting people off the street, the services that you're proposing are not going to work. Thank you.
Next is Julie Beck.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Julie Beck, and I am a business owner in Longview for going on 34 years. My sister Carrie and I own the Coin Investor at 501 North Spur 63. We have D1, 2, and 3. We watched our grandparents grow that business from 1979 over on Guthrie Creek, which that area is also affected. We just wanted to show our support as business owners, as people who have been very proud to be able to give back to our community. We've donated to Little League teams. We've been a shoulder to cry on. Certainly, we have offered as much help as we possibly could. And while there but by the grace of God go I, things have gotten a bit out of hand in our area. The following building owners, Gary Miller with Eberhard Miller at Guthrie Creek Properties, 706 to 716 Glencrest, would like to be in support of the ordinance you're proposing. Jackson and John Yin of Yin Investments, and they own many properties in Longview, but the one that affects me is 501 North Spur 63 at the Town Lake Properties. My sister Carrie and myself, the Coin Investor, Suite D1 through 3. Mr. and Mrs. Dave Wood, who own Longview Pet Salon, Suite A3. Eric Dodd Insurance, who is also at 501 North Spur 63, Suite D6. Ron Thompson, who owns Mafia Street Vape at Suite D7. He also is opening a business called Let Us Eat at 3500 McCann Road, Suite M05. Gene Simpson Temporary is also in favor of this ordinance. Gene Simpson Personnel Services, my apologies. They are Suite C4 at 501 North Spur. The Sports Lodge, owned by Mike Bannon and Ken Elmore, and they are Suite A1. All of us are proud citizens of this community. We pay our property taxes, we pay our sales taxes in, and we would be open to other suggestions, but I think this ordinance, and I appreciate the city council being brave enough on your first night there to propose this ordinance and to do something. My customers are afraid to come in my store, and that can't be. And we've had to hire extra security. Something I thought I would never do was put a buzzer on my front door so I couldn't welcome anyone in. I now buzz people in and out simply for my safety. My sister Carrie and I would like to thank the Longview Police Department and all of their efforts to keep things diffused, and I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Doug McKinney is next.
This is the night I was going to play pickleball. What happened? Boy, everybody's a little intense in here. I've been in Longview my entire life, and I'll never forget growing up down on Highway 80, and my dad's office was right there on Highway 80, and Highway 80 Rescue Mission's been here forever, and Longview has been servicing the homeless ever since I can remember, taking care of them in every ways possible. And so, saying that, I want to thank, we have many different organizations in town that help take care of them. So, in saying that, I've been living. I have 812 McCann Road and 1014 McCann Road. We're right there on the same street as the subject that they were talking about. I was coming here representing some of the business district that people that have we've talked about it, and they are basically on the action item number A of all the support. I'm going to go ahead and give these names first before I can talk a little bit more in case I run out of time. Jack's Air and Heat Incorporated, of course, that's the one that I own there at 812 McCann Road. By the way, it's time to change your air filters if you haven't done that. And Miracle Method Resurfacing, Wilt Wiring. Boy, he was really felt sorry for him. He's had some windows busted out, some things going on there at his place. He had one of his ladies she had actually left working for him because she was too scared in there working in her office. I'm going to keep going. Mosley's Appliance. Mosley's is right there. He constantly has to shovel the stuff out of the dumpster area. I'm going to get a hurry. Rotec across the street. They get constantly panhandled. Advanced Industries, Action Seat Cover, Sparklight's had them. That's again on the spur near where she's at. Electric Cowboy, Hagen Fasteners, and Orr Cadillac and GMC. And I want to just say another thing about poor Orr Cadillac and GMC. They're up to like $175,000 worth of damages from some of the. I understood that they even identified the one that was from that and did that. They've had to hire a security guard, which constantly is having to work, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. And they're still constantly on trespassing, and it's just whenever we're having, this is a retail business district where that's happening, and so whenever you're in that, I think the one that's most affected is Mosley's right there. I mean, they were all here earlier. Several of them here. Mosley had to leave. Most of these people are here. If they weren't here, they wanted me to be sure and let them know that they were wanted me to support that action item on the agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Marcia Johnson is next. Sorry, no sitting down.
Ooh, I'm always nervous, but even more so. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Marcia Johnson, and I'm here to speak on two issues, so I'll speak quickly. One is for item 11A. Whereas I realize this issue is regarding the displacement and sheltering of the homeless, my provider shared with me today that she and her family of 3 were facing possible homelessness because they can't get landlords to deal with Section 8 applicants. She wants to be somewhere safe with her family. I'd like to know, what is the city's game plan to address housing for the homeless? Someone who is a VA provider working while their children are in school should not have to be facing the fact that they may be out on the street because nobody wants to give them someplace decent to live. There's an issue with that. And maybe looking at what the issue is and addressing it from that point can address some of these issues for other people. My husband, too, would not qualify to go in a shelter if he had to. And he is a VA, fought for this country, and debilitated because of it. The other article I want to address is item 11B. I would just like to promote the importance of the Longview Swim Center and swim lessons that have taught life-saving skills to our youth and old. We don't realize how important this is until we read about a car full of kids drowning from going off of a bridge in waist-high water that happened last year in Tennessee. I would hate for us to wake up one morning and that has happened here in Longview due to a lack of proper pools and the ability to have swim lessons for our kids as well as our older people, such as myself. I have benefited from both. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Gary Krell is next and our last speaker card.
Madam Mayor, council members, my name is Gary Krell. I live at 705 Delwood Freeway. I'm here this afternoon to discuss the animal at large problem. I'll address two areas of concern to me that I will hopefully be helpful to the council as they search for solutions. First, it has been well reported that a certain dog owner had many animal control citations over an extended period of time. Incidents involving his animals ultimately resulted in 2 separate felony charges. I made an open record request to the city for information surrounding the first of these 2 incidents. I learned that the dog owner had appeared in municipal court to face 36 citations for animal at large between December 2019 and December 2023. For these violations, he was assessed fines totaling $16,000. Did he pay? Apparently not. Was he summoned back to court to explain why? No. Most importantly, did he change his behavior? No, he did not. So animal control did their job. Muni court dished out the fines, but is that where the enforcement's going to stop? If so, the most irresponsible dog owners will never change their behavior. I urge the council to review the current policy and procedures for post-judgment enforcement to ensure that penalties for repeat offenders are actually carried out, and that so they may have their intended effect to change behavior. Second, the animals ordinance authorizes animal control to designate fierce or dangerous dogs. This tool is virtually never used. There are probably a number of reasons why this is so that I can't get into here, but using it would place additional enforceable requirements on dog owners. It seems self-evident to me that 2 or more large dogs aggressively chasing a child on a bike down the street meet the definition of dangerous dog. It should not take serious bodily injury or death to do so. I urge the council to consider ordinance changes that will remove the barriers to the use of the dangerous dog designations and provide animal control with the political backing to use them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes our citizen comments this evening. I do want to just take a minute and sincerely thank everyone that came out tonight to be a part, to comment, or to be here as part of our citizen comments. Although we have differing views, that is the role of the council, to be engaged in what the community is interested in, and that requires civilly discussing both sides of that issue. So I sincerely thank you all for being here. We will move on to our public safety update and do that with Chief Boone.
Good evening, Mayor Ishihara, Council, Mr. McPhee. I want to start off with just highlighting the winners for last year, our 2023 winners at the police department, both our professional staff and officers. There in the middle, we have Montrell Warren as Officer of the Year. I also want to highlight that he was patrol officer last year, but just as this week, he is now a detective, so he just transferred to our detective division. We also have Supervisor of the Year, Eric Cunningham, Rookie of the Year, Dawson Newman, our Detective of the Year, Trenton Capps, and he works he's kind of the jack of all trades. He does persons crimes, he does juvenile crimes, and he also works some of our sexual assault crimes and so forth. So he definitely covers the field and does a great job. And then also Supervisor of the Year, we have Jessica Prue, Sabina of the Year, Samantha Connors, and our Dispatcher of the Year, Kayla Nichols. So definitely proud of all of them and all of our other nominees as well. With that also, I want to cover some our customer survey statistics, and especially for our new council members, I want to point out on this, we've had this for a couple years now, and these numbers, these aren't just random numbers, but it's actually somebody that's called the police department and has had police services, had an officer respond out there. That are the folks that get the survey afterwards. So this information is coming straight from them. So you can see on that first column there, How was your interaction with a Longview police officer? And it's 4.72 out of 5. Very proud of that. How would you rate your dispatcher? And that's a 4.66 out of 5. And then overall satisfaction with the police department, again, a 4.6 out of 5. And that is with people that have been generally victims or have witnessed a crime that have called us. Also, to go along with Police Week last week, we had several visitors come by and bring us goodies. And so we appreciate that. We just have to work out a little bit harder to make up for it. But we had Neighborhood Walmart, Salvation Army, Edible Art, Value Dental, and Christus Good Shepherd, just to name a few of them. Again, definitely appreciate them taking their time out to come by and visit with us. Also, this week on Monday, we had our annual Gregton Rotary Club tournament of Longview Fire Department versus Police Department. And I'm sure my cohort here will have a little bit more information to say on that here in a minute. But the fire department pulled it off, and they beat us on that one. But there's still the 9/11 challenge coming up here in a few months, so we'll take it back then. I also want to thank Mr. Rader for that as well. He has been behind this thing for 40 plus years and does a great job with that as well. So definitely thank him and his team. And then also yesterday, Hardest invited us out for breakfast. And as you can see, we definitely took advantage of that, and it was a great breakfast as well. And we finally have at the new police department, we have our building dedication plaque up. And I know it's hard to see right there, but on the top half, it's got all of our council members that were part of that process in 2018 during the bond election. And then on the lower portion, it has everybody that was a part of that during the December of 2023 when it was actually finally opened. So go by and check that out. It's right next to the elevator. You can't miss it. It looks really good. And it's your community, your team. Come join us. We've got our numbers are looking really great. They're getting lower all the time on vacancies, but we still have a few more openings. So if you're on the fence about it, better come on while the getting's good. And also, I want to highlight it's Memorial Day weekend, so everybody have a lot of fun, but don't have too much fun. And remember what it's really about. It's about our veterans and those that have lost their lives in the battlefield. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions of council.
Any questions for Chief Boone? No, thank you. Appreciate you. Chief Steelman, you're up.
Good evening, Mayor Ishihara, members of council, Mr. McPhee. Thanks for the opportunity to provide you an update on some occurrences in the fire department since our last council meeting. As Chief Boone mentioned, and the focal point of my presentation is going to be the community support for public safety. I think you're going to see a common theme here. As Chief Boone mentioned, the Longview Gretna Rotary Club did sponsor its annual Fire Police Golf Tournament. We were happy to take that trophy home again this year, and as you can see through the history of that tournament, that's been going on close to 40 years. The records only went back to 1992. But we've certainly dominated that golf tournament, and we look forward to that again next year. And we consider this a good warm-up for the 9/11 tournament, so we'll see you on the golf course in September. Hardest of Longview, Chief Boone mentioned this also. They always do a fantastic job of having us out, letting us interact with their guests and their staff. And it's just always so heartwarming to get out there and receive that type of appreciation. Certainly because of the nature of their business, they're a customer of ours. We're always glad to get their positive feedback on the job that our crews do, going in and out of there on a reoccurring basis. But it's a great time to sit down and share a meal, break bread with our brothers and sisters in law enforcement. And again, just welcome that type of support from a local Longview business. With this being National EMS Week, both of our hospitals really stepped up and have gone all out. First, I recognize Longview Regional. They provided lunch for 3 different days to accommodate all 3 of our operational shifts. Had a food trailer out there. All of our crews were able to rotate through, and it's just amazing to have this level of support, and we can't do what we do without them. And just working together, this is all part of that process. And on the same token, Christus Good Shepherd sponsored 3 days worth of brunch. The last day of that is tomorrow. Same kind of pretense. Again, it's just great that the hospitals and EMS can work so fluidly together, and it really pays off building those relationships when we take in those critical patients and knowing who we're talking to and what we're dealing with and all being on the same page. And then, as you recognized earlier, Mayor, with a proclamation, this is National Stop the Bleed Day, so it's a good time for a plug for that. Our fire department is happy to provide this training. If you're a homeowners association, a church, a local business, if you're an individual, please reach out. You can explore that at longviewtexas.gov/STB and talk to our people to set up a class. We're happy to get out and share that knowledge. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chief Steelman? Yep. Thank you, Chief. We appreciate you. We are now on to discussion items. I do want to just briefly thank council for tackling some hard and big issues this evening. This was obviously the first agenda that I got to set, and I did so based on information that I gathered and citizen concerns that I received along campaigning for the last 6 to 12 months. So the items that you see us addressing tonight are things that I heard repetitively come up as public safety issues and concerns of the citizens of Longview. So thank you guys for tackling those with me tonight. I appreciate you doing so. The discussion item that is next is discuss the city's options for addressing unrestrained animals. I asked Councilman Wade if he would allow me to open that up first. Obviously, the city of Longview suffered a tragic and unnecessary death February 1st with the death of Kenneth Pearson. That is something that I want the community to know that our council does not take lightly, and that the need for changes, whatever that may be, is something that the council would like to hear from the community about and take seriously. So tonight is really just an invitation to that discussion. Stray and loose animals that you've had issues with, I personally want to hear about. I want to ask you to contact your council member about. Solutions that you may propose, I want to hear about, and I want you to contact your council member about. This is just intended to engage the community in that discussion and make it public that that is an issue that I believe needs to be addressed, and I believe I speak for the council when I say needs to be addressed. And I believe, Ray, would you like to say anything?
Sure. You know, I think this is great that we're discussing this. We have to acknowledge the fact that there was a life that was lost, and that could have been prevented. You know, my thoughts and prayers have always been with that family. This issue is a multifaceted issue in South Longview, in my district, and I could possibly speak a little bit for District 2. I'm not sure if it's a blanket resolution. We just go in and spay and neuter. I think I would like to hear more from the people in my community, because I believe all true discussion, all true changes happen first with the citizens of the community. I think anything that gets done with any of these items tonight, it starts with the concern of the people in the community. And so with this as well, I like to take it back to the people. I like for it to be from the people that comes to us, and then we make that decision.
Absolutely. If anyone else would like to comment or discuss, now's the time.
I'll speak to it. So actually today, I actually heard two things that came up regarding the animals. The first one was a person that just came by and randomly saw me and brought up the issue that he had regarding his neighbor that has a lot of cats. And it's become a problem where there's he said over 9 cats when he got there, and it's now been a lot more. And he spoke to animal control and everything, and they lack options in what they can do for that situation that he's dealing with. And so I think the opening the discussion would help on seeing solutions for that. The other one was somebody that mentioned how they were on Cargill Long Trail, and 2 occasions where a dog attacked them and the children through there as well. Luckily, no injuries were reported on that one. But I've actually experienced it personally, riding my bikes with my children, and luckily I was there. You know, they're young, so I'm with them. And I act quickly, and I rode my bike at the dog to make the dog go away instead of trying to flee the dog and run, which I know how to handle, vicious animals in that extent. So I've personally experienced it as well. So my thoughts are with the family that had the tragic loss, and I do feel like this is something that we do want to hear about. I don't think it's a South Longview issue. It happens throughout the community, and I think we need to hear from y'all on that. Thank you.
I think this is a citywide issue, and I'd personally like to hear from any District 5 resident in regards to this. I think losing lives over things that are preventable, especially if we can take legislative action for, I think is a good, healthy step.
Sure. With the permission of other council members, I would like to consider sending this to the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee for discussion and perhaps some public meetings. I think that's the appropriate venue to invite the community to engage with us as well as directly, but to provide some forum for that to be considered. The city has a large number of committees that address certain topics. This happens to have one, so I believe that's the appropriate place to look at that. And with you guys' permission, I'd like to ask that our Animal Shelter Advisory Committee be tasked with looking into the issue. I think there's a number of things that we could consider: additional animal control officer hours, perhaps some temporary locations around the city to allow quicker response times, increased ordinances for punishment of those that have had trouble with that in the past, and a number of things that could be considered, and I certainly don't have all those ideas. But with your permission, I'd like to direct that to our Animal Shelter Advisory.
Are
Yes,
citizens able to attend that?
Yes.
Is it open meetings?
it is.
So is there a way we can have those meetings posted openly? I'm sure they are.
It's a great idea.
But a way that we can notify so that everyone could attend and be heard? That'd
Absolutely.
be great.
Absolutely. Did you have something to add? No? Okay. Is that okay with everybody?
Motion accepted and moved. Can we get a second?
Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We'll ask staff to bring that back to us at a coming meeting. Thank you. Next up is our consent agenda. Does anyone have any items they'd like to pull off for discussion or consideration, or any staff questions? If not, I will ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Next on our action items. Action item A, consider an ordinance adding a new Article 8 to Chapter 58 of the Longview City Code regarding sleeping outside on private property. This is an action item that I asked council to consider this evening. I wanted to briefly review the current ordinances. This is, if you would pull up, thank you, my first slide. Our current ordinances state that it is unlawful for any person to sleep or lounge in or upon any public street, alley, highway, sidewalk, or other public property, etc. Next, please. Thank you. It is unlawful for any person, family, or other group of persons to camp within the corporate limits of the city of Longview. Our current ordinances prohibit camping in the city of Longview and prohibit sleeping in public property in the city of Longview. As I mentioned, this is an item that was brought to my attention multiple times from not only neighboring businesses, but from community citizens at large when we had, I have no intention of targeting a particular nonprofit, but all of the citizen comments have indicated that we are talking about One Love, who had individuals sleeping on their porch, that was something that community members gave me feedback that they did not support. Most everybody that contacted me believed that our current city ordinances, which restrict camping or sleeping outside, would cover that particular issue. Due to the language in the ordinances, it does not. What I've asked to be brought forward tonight for discussion and consideration on behalf of the council is what I believe is tailored narrowly enough to apply to that situation, which would eliminate the ability to sleep on private camp, essentially on private property is what it would do. And I believe that that reflects what our community as a whole has understood to be our current ordinance situation and would allow us to move forward to address what is obviously a very sensitive and needs to be handled with compassion topic. I have no intention of stopping any of our nonprofits from serving our homeless population, from individuals that need services. One Love, as well as any nonprofit that services this community, would be supported and encouraged to continue operating with services that are needed. I will publicly commit to me personally, as well as the city, looking into solutions to aid with those individuals, but I feel like this is a necessary step to get to a point where we can have those conversations. What I did not enjoy during my campaign time was a lot of things, but one, that this particular issue can be so polarizing that individuals will pull from national rhetoric and just yell at each other from each side. And I'd like for us to be able to set that down and look for actual solutions to help individuals. And I know that that is not the feeling that some of you have tonight with what I've brought forward, but I want you to personally hear from me that I'm committed to helping find city resources and help with those individuals that need assistance. That I would like to open that up to discussion. As I said, this is something that I've asked the council to consider. This is not from any other party. This is something that I drafted and that I asked the council to consider, and I'd like for us to have some discussion on it tonight.
I have a couple of thoughts.
Yes.
First, so all of this looks as if it's directed at one organization. And I don't know if it's anywhere else in our city where this is an issue or any other places where we've had these concerns. That's the first thought. The second thought is I really would like for us to maybe have some answers, some of these problems resolved, and then we bring it to the city for the ordinance and the action items. Those are just my thoughts on it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that maybe it needs to be a little bit explained more in detail, that because I think the thought of it is that we're criminalizing homeless people, and I think that it needs to be clarified to everyone in here as to why they think that and why is it not that exactly what they think it is.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So starting with the original ordinances by the definition that's been brought out tonight, would criminalize homelessness. Our current ordinances don't allow camping in the city of Longview and don't allow sleeping on public property. So that's actually probably more the focus than what we're talking about tonight, but I understand your comment. And to address that, what we included in the proposed ordinance is that not only the individual, but also the business owner could be ticketed. It is not my intention to ticket homeless individuals, although they would be in violation of that ordinance should they choose to partake in that activity. So that would be an option under the ordinance, but it also would allow for ticketing business owners who are encouraging or asking individuals to essentially camp on their private property.
So someone falls asleep at my place of business, then I am susceptible to be ticketed for that person falling asleep at my place of business.
If you were encouraging them to sleep outside, invisible of the roadway, not for recreational purposes, there's a number of exceptions to that.
Which is debatable if I'm encouraging it or not, correct?
Sure, that's a subjective measure.
I'm sorry?
There's typically a pattern. One-off situation or something like that would not induce maybe that you would be encouraging that action, right? So first off, let's go over with what One Love is, okay? The One Love is a homeless day shelter, okay? It's not a low or no barrier shelter. We understand that does not exist at this moment, and that's something that does need to be addressed and something that Mayor Ishihara has committed to tackling to that issue to try to figure out a sense of way for housing. This is not, in my opinion, a target to a single organization, although it has been brought up due to a single organization, but is to prohibit the potential of this happening somewhere else in other instances. That has caused numerous, as we've heard, issues regarding the area and that has been impacted from that and the surrounding area that's having to be in that area, around that area. Also, this started out as a case-by-case situation where they would allow it under extreme circumstances where the individual may not have had an adequate place to attend, and it was done that way. And then with that, it has been expanded into a more of a recreational type of situation. Now, and also currently, the idea of this is that this is going to impact or hurt that community. They're currently not camping on the porch of One Love as it is right now. And prior to that allowance, they also were not camping anywhere else. So nothing of that changes. But what it does do is it does shift some of the safety concerns of law enforcement interactions that have been going on through that area and allowing it where there's not a risk to public safety and the concern of what's going with that. Now, I support One Love, and I completely think that the day shelter is highly needed and something that our community needs, and also that we need to find a solution that helps on the housing and the homeless situation with that.
Thank you.
I just have a few comments. I think this is a multifaceted issue. I think it deals with, first off, acknowledging, like you have already committed to, using city funds, resources, city staff time to figuring out solutions to this issue that's not just affecting us, but affecting a lot of the country. As well as, our job is to maintain order and to make sure that everybody's rights are being valued. And I think private property rights are a thing as well. And so I think part of our job as the council is to make sure that not only are we solving one issue, which is taking the steps towards solving this issue, which a lot of us went on a Kentucky trip recently to learn the best practices of other cities to see how they're handling this issue. And the other, as well, is making sure that business owners who are also citizens of this great city feel safe going to work. I know a lot of people think that we're so concerned about the bottom line. I don't think that's what it is, but as a small business owner in this current economy, it's hard to make ends meet as it is. And when you add additional barriers to that, it makes it really hard. I think this is obviously a huge issue that probably God himself is the one that's going to have to solve. But I think that if we can just have discourse and discussion over this, just to maybe settle some minds at ease and to be open, like anyone who wants to reach out to me, my email is mgambo@longviewtexas.gov, and I would love to hear your opinions in regards to this. But I think that the point of an action item is to resolve something that is going on. And would you please go over the revisions one more time, just
Oh,
in
sure.
regards to
Yeah,
what
I'm
this
sorry.
is?
Those are actually next on the slide. There we go. So the proposed ordinance would provide that it is unlawful for any person to knowingly occupy a location outside of a permanent structure for the purpose of sleeping unless the sleeping occurs with permission for recreational purposes only in a location not readily visible from the right-of-way and a location that does not obstruct entrances or exits in between the hours of 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. and on a property that is located with a structure that would allow access to restroom facilities inside the structure.
Thank you. And I think we can all agree that public safety is at the forefront of all of this for all individuals involved. I know I've recently called some council members in Houston, and although they have approaches to dealing with this as well, you have to keep in mind that when you don't put parameters in place for people to take whatever route they may be, heat is coming up, and there's going to be a lot of demand with, people out on the street as it's getting hotter and things of that nature. And so I think we just have to do our due diligence to make sure that we are addressing this issue, but making sure that we're not making it easier for tragedies to happen. I know as fire and police have stated multiple times, they're recruiting because, nationwide, we're having recruitment issues with those things. And so I just think the system is bogged down. So.
Any other comments or discussion?
Okay. I'm the one taking the biggest hit on this because of a video. And I've talked to one individual in this whole town, and she knows who she is. I think she might even be sitting out there. And I'm not going to go back over that. I up here have used One Love. I have taken the gentleman up there, and they did an excellent job helping the gentleman at the time. I don't believe the story now because I saw him a week ago, and it's changed. But I said what I said on the video because there are certain things that were happening. The city could only do so much. So what started off as 3 people, 4 people, ended up being 10, 12, 20 people 2 weeks, 3 weeks later. I made the call to satisfy a constituent and the business that he has to let him know that we couldn't do anything as a city. And I even called 2 other officers to let them know that, and they came out and told him the same thing. I wanted him to understand that we as a council were doing the best that we could do with what we had to work with, that we couldn't get into the rights of those people. Now, did I want them moved? I sure did want them moved because it was raining that night. There was no place for them to go. I mean, it was raining on them right there over that porch. That was the 4th night and the 4th time I had gotten a call of that, and I finally went out there to look at this situation. And I still don't want them there because it's not a place for them to be. When we had freezing weather and it was below freezing, I got the call. Some of the other staff got the call, and I made a few calls. We couldn't find any place for them to go, so I made the decision to let them go in the building. As bad as it was, I made that decision because if something would have happened in that building, a fire or whatever could have happened in that building, and those people would have gotten hurt or killed, I still made that decision that night. Now, I don't know what happened after that. So, you know, the papers bladed me. The gentleman that was out there earlier, there's two sides to every story, and y'all aren't always hearing the other side of this story. Now, us as a council are real concerned about this, but sleeping on a porch is not the place to be. They need to, they need to find a place that we can put them. But putting 2 on there, and then 4 on there, and then 8 on there, and then 16 on there, it just kept growing and growing and growing. There have been 400+ police calls to that location. 2 of them were mine. Now, I don't know how many that Miss Veazey has called and had them come up there and run people off or take people off because of violence, but I do know that the business owners around there have called a lot because of that. Now, that's a big concern, but we're inheriting a problem that we didn't fathom that was going to happen, and we're trying to figure out how to fix it and help these people at the same time. But everybody wants to look at me as being the GOAT because somebody paid $2,500 from that organization to get that tape, and that's fine. I still stand behind what I said on that tape. And I thought, well, that $2,500 could have been used for hotel rooms or something that night that it got so cold and was freezing and everything. But they've got to have somebody to go after. So I'm the one that's going to go after, and that's fine. Somebody talk to the newspaper.
Guys, we're not taking comments from the gallery any longer.
So
I'm sorry.
We're all committed to it. Probably up here, I'm the one that's worked with the homeless people and the other organizations more than anybody. House of Disciples, Highway 80. I've been to those places. I've helped them people. I grew up with them people, like Mr. McKinney said. I grew up with that on Highway 80.
Steve, do you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the action item A.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please indicate so.
I oppose it.
Thank you. I believe that passes 4-2. Thank you, guys. Next on our action item is action item B, consider a resolution specifying a course of action with regard to Longview Swim Center and authorizing and directing the city manager or the city manager's designee to implement that decision. I'm going to wait 2 seconds and just let some folks clear out so we. No, ma'am, I'm sorry. You can wait and ask individuals after the meeting. We don't do questions. You can citizen comment. Before we get started, John, I did thank you for waiting till the end. I did want to just run through a couple of things as we got onto this action item. First, we do have a Pine Tree employee with us that's newly seated tonight. Robert, would you address, I believe we know the answer, but will you address whether he's permitted to vote on this particular action item?
He is permitted to vote on the item. The Attorney General has expressly addressed the situation.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And next, I wanted to just run through a brief timeline on how long we've been looking at what to do with the Longview Swim Center. This predates your time with us and predates me being in this particular position. So in April of 2023, prior to that swim season, the council started receiving memos about what to do with the swim center and some needed repairs and renovations to that facility. The council received a memo in April of last year, September of last year, and November of last year. And then this item has been on discussion at council December 14th as well as April 11th. I am asking the council to make a substantive decision tonight about how to move forward with the pools based on the options provided by our parks director and have been specifically asked to do so by Pine Tree. I also would like to thank Pine Tree, who has been an excellent partner in providing the Longview Swim Center for many decades with us. And I suppose that we need to apologize for allowing it to get to the point that we are making this decision tonight. We have not been a good partner in maintaining our portion of that. So I I believe the city takes responsibility for that. And with that, I will ask Mr. Albertson to give us our options, please.
Yes, Mayor, Council, Mr. McPhee, thank you for the opportunity, of course, to present tonight. I'll go ahead and start with option A, which would be the abandonment of Longview Swim Center. This option, of course, would allow us to explore several different options elsewhere. Then we'll go to option B, which is repair the rec pool and close the race pool option. This would remove the race pool and replace it with a concrete pad that we could utilize for other programming. Option C would be a repair as is. That would be fixing the facility exactly the way that it sits with no new changes. Option D would be a remodel option. This would be removing the race pool and adding a splash pad, which would, of course, add new features and then add a new water slide as well. So those are our options that we have, and I'd be glad to answer any questions that you all may have.
Thank you. Are there questions for Mr. Albertson? And I know we'll have some discussion, so if you would please indicate when you'd like to speak, we will do this in a somewhat orderly fashion. So any questions? Michelle, go ahead, or Ms. Gamble.
No questions. I just have comments.
I got a question.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead with questions first.
Mr. Albertson, if you were to repair this, how long would it take for it to be up and running?
Oh, at this point, it would be a minimum of 18 to 24 months. Of course, that would escalate if we went with option D, where we'd be adding new features, so.
Okay, so at least 18, 24 months, so we're going to miss probably 2 swim seasons.
Yes, sir.
Easy, okay. Thank you.
I do have a question, actually.
Go ahead.
Can you remind us what the current access to that pool is? Like how much % we have it per year or?
Well, so for instance, this season, we would have operated from June 8th to early August, so August 4th. So you're looking at just a couple of months there. But we, of course, operate all of our pools in that same manner.
Great.
What are the other areas? If we abandon the swim center, what are the other areas?
We've looked at all sorts of options, but we don't have anywhere specific.
So we don't know where the pool will be.
No, ma'am. We're, of course, looking at what our options are for LSC, and then if we were to go another route, then we would then start to consider in more detail those.
Go ahead.
What feedback have we gotten from Longview Independent School District now that the bond's passed, and what actually will be citizens of Longview's access to the new, what is it called, the new swim center at
The new natatorium, I believe, is what they're.
Yeah, I think Roland may be better suited to answer that, if that's appropriate.
So this past Tuesday, the Longview Independent School District had talked about that their bond had passed and that they were willing to look for some arrangement with the city that would have to be city council approved. But initial discussions were they wanted to open up access for all, and they did use the word all community members, and they specifically mentioned other school districts. Obviously, nothing's been brought to you. I don't have a draft of anything. I will tell you that's what they told me. And so that was the meeting. It was Tuesday, I believe, that they said that. But the details of that I can't comment on because obviously it's a subject up to you. But it did echo what the mayor had mentioned earlier, that they were willing to entertain access. We had similar arrangements that you can find in detail from Miss Laura Hill when she helped execute that for the tennis centers, when the tennis centers, which were originally going to be built as a part of Lear Park, when the construction prices came in for that project, there were several $1 million over budget. The tennis courts, which is where the actual splash pads are now, were removed from that scope. And Ms. Hill, I think, negotiated with LISD and brought to council. That's why we have public access, although limited, to the tennis facilities at Longview High School. So that's what I know in response to that.
And LISD doesn't have a location of where they're going to put the pool
I
either.
think they're talking about who's going to design it and where it's going to lay out. They've indicated they intend it to be part of the high school campus.
I'm sorry, one more question. I just want to confirm, clarify. Is this connected to the current trail system?
This is not.
Okay.
I will open that for discussion if anyone would like to make comments. Now's the time.
I do.
Sure.
There's no question that I want the pool. I want it back where it's at. If we're going to build one central located pool, well, it's in my district anyway because I'm in the center of town. It might be moved a mile or so, half a mile up H.G. Mosley to get it closer to the center of town. We just spent $6 to $7 million on a brand new street over there. That street is used daily by the school, by the citizens that walk up and down that street. That was one of the best things that we ever had done there, and it should have been done many, many years earlier. We've had good, very good rapport with Pine Tree on this situation. No problems. The problem came with us. We were the ones that didn't upkeep the pool. When we have a problem cutting a budget around here, the first thing we do is cut parks. We always have. Now, I like option D, to be honest with you, because I think the splash pad and the pool getting back up there, we've already got parking. We don't have to buy a piece of property. We don't have to take a piece of property off the tax roll. It's already there. The school, according to the superintendent, is more than more than willing to let us do this with one stipulation, that we take care of it. And that's where we failed. I didn't know we were falling in that situation here, but that's where we failed. There's 4 subdivisions at least around that pool. There's 4 apartment complexes at least around that pool. Most of the people that live around that pool don't have swimming pools in their backyard, so that's not an issue. They've got it. Those houses that are over in there, or my dad built a bunch of them, are 30, 40, 50 years old. So, there's a few that had a pool here and there, but, the kids that use that area, that's a local neighborhood pool. And that's what we need. We need those around here. John's got one in his area. We need one in the south side. Bad. We need one. So I think we need to look at trying to accommodate these areas. Really, the one that's getting cut the shortest right now is Michelle. There's nothing in Spring Hill. Nothing out there. They have to come this way. Other than the splash pad she's getting really cut short for not having a pool. And when we were growing up, Spring Hill had a pool, Pine Tree had a pool, I guess Longview did, but we never crossed this far to go swimming. We always rode bicycles and walked and did things like that. That's the idea I have of a neighborhood pool. So that's why I want it back right there. And there's no reason it can't live another 40 or 50 years if we take care of it.
Well, so South Longview actually did have 2 pools that were abandoned, and that's the whole problem of me wanting to know the locations of where we're going to put these pools, because if we're going to put them way out in North Longview, and still we've abandoned South Longview for all these years, and then we're going to abandon the Longview Swim Center and still no location as to where the pools are going to be. That is the biggest issue, and it should be an issue to everybody because it is our youth that is missing out. The longer we wait around to say, hey, this area is going to get a pool, this area is going to abandon the pool, then we're going to be stuck with our kids not being able to learn how to swim. And that's who we're forgetting about in this issue.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to be recognized.
Yep.
I just have a couple of comments, and I think I'm thinking of this a little slightly different. First of all, I'd like to say that I grew up in Pine Tree, Sycamore, and I got taught how to swim at this pool, and I understand the historical value to certain things. However, I think it's our fiduciary responsibility to look at things from a reasonable approach. I think this is a 2-faceted issue. This is not just abandoning the swim center, things of that. That's addressing one issue, and the other issue, which can be addressed at another council meeting, would be how and where do we address these pool issues. I think we can all agree that pool safety is important to us. I think teaching our youth how to swim is extremely important. My dad still doesn't know how to swim. Actually, sorry, Dad, I called you out. He still needs to learn. So that I know there's a lot of populations that are still affected by this. I think also that it's up to us to have good relationships with our ISDs, and I think this is a good step forward. And I think we've taken proper steps so far to drain it, clean it, hose it down. And so although we've been bad tenants, I hope that moving forward we can continue to be good tenants, whether we choose to keep this or not. My view has already been stated pretty much the last council meeting. We've been discussing this ad nauseum, and some things that I am for this would be A, to close the pool and to take the proper steps to work with Pine Tree ISD to have an admirable close, whatever that may mean to them. So that's the only caveat in regards to how it's positioned right now, is I would like to leave room for Pine Tree to let us know what they feel would be a good amicable close for the years of maltreatment that they've had in regards to this. And I think that we also have to take a comprehensive approach. Communities are changing, the way people interact is changing. And so I think that there needs to be some sort of study done in regards to community pools, splash pads, aquatics, things of that nature. Because if we are going to spend money, we need to do it responsibly. I think we've been spending money like drunken sailors. You're right, Mr. Pirtle. So maybe we should take a step back and figure out what our due diligence should be in these things. And look at best practices from other cities, see what their approaches are, and maybe, I think this is a two-faceted approach. Number one, figuring out what we do with Pine Tree, because I know they want a decision, and figuring out what the amicable close looks like. And then second, in my opinion, would be giving staff a couple of days, presumably 90 days, to, give us options in regards to where if we abandon this pool, what steps we would take. And I would like to see some similar options stated, such as this, A, B, C, D, E, in other words. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and make a motion, unless, is there room for more discussion?
I would like.
Yep, sure. Yeah, go
Sorry.
ahead.
So this is a citywide issue, not a district issue. So this is an aquatic thing, as Councilwoman Moore talked about, pool closures. Even, we're gonna have to address the Ingram pool that's in my district as well, because of this. So we gotta look at it as a completely comprehensive aquatics program. The current location right now, it does not currently enhance our current parks and recreation system. It's not on the trail system, it's not city-owned property. It's limited to use for 2 months of the years. And if you want to focus on Pine Tree community and go that route, then McWhorter Park would be a much more suitable location for a new pool. The neighborhood pool model is broken. So to give some context to this, this was done from a grant, federal grant that built these pools. And so, yeah, if we're spending federal money, let's take it, let's build the pools. But now that it's become a issue for the taxpayers, local taxpayer dollars to focus on, we need to reevaluate that and see if that neighborhood pool model is the right way to go. So Ingram's going to reach its useful life, and as it stands right now, it would face the same situation, and I would support closure of that pool as well if that come to it. The other thing is too, South Longview is about to possibly lose a pool with some developments there. And so what it would leave would be Pine Tree would be the only pool, public city pool, in all of Longview. And I disagree with Councilman Pirtle's assessment that he's centrally located. That would be downtown Longview. The cities expand, they annex, they come through. Those outside boundaries and those perimeters, they change. But the central downtown Longview is where it would centrally located be. It would be much more accessible to everybody and all around, including South Longview with that option. So the neighborhood pool models, it does not work anymore. You also have an issue with lifeguard shortages, difficulty getting supplies to repair them. We've had multiple pool closures already for those reasons. And so if you support the option of keeping a pool there, then as Councilman Pirtle said, we need to put one in Gamboa's district, we need to put another one in South Longview, we need to keep the one in Ingram. You're talking about spending $15+ million just to build backyard pools, okay? So then, going from there, you're still not going to get a lot of community engagement with these pools. So the average visitors for the Pine Tree Pool from 2014 to 2019 was 9,700 people. COVID, ever since those, if you want to take the average from these recent years, anemic, okay? So the idea of backyard pools, this is not the same landscape as it was 50 years ago. More people have more backyard pools, and what you want to do is you want to have you don't want to have a pool system that's competing against the backyard pools, because you want to have a pool system where it attracts people with backyard pools, people outside the community, everybody that wants to come and utilize that pool. Whenever you do it with the backyard pool model, where that's all you're competing against, I went there as a child, and we went there all the time, but they had a high diving board. I don't know if y'all remember that. That thing was, to me, it felt like 100 feet up in the air. And we would go to that, and people who had access to backyard pools would still go to that because there was something of entertainment, of value that they weren't getting somewhere else. So the options were now the new recreational pools include, I want you to imagine maybe a lazy river, imagine slides, imagine all this stuff being at like Teague Park where we're getting a new enhancement that has a beautiful veteran memorial there. Other ways that we can enrich not just a district of Longview, but an entire community of Longview. And I'm going to finish up. I know it's long. I'm going to try to get through all through. This is also the only school district partnership, which Pine Tree has been amazing, and so it's not any fault of their own. We've already addressed all that. But it's the only partnership where the city holistically operates and maintains the pool. Longview ISD just passed a bond to build an auditorium, and they're looking at opening to partnerships in other ways. We need to maybe explore those options instead of the city spending $200,000 for operation of 2 months of a pool. Now, if you do neighborhood pools, that amplifies. You're going to have $400,000 per pool doing that option too, at least. I also agree with Councilwoman Moore. We do need to know where we're going, and I completely agree with that. And that's why I think we should do an aquatics plan study and get that done. And the thing is, as Director Albertson already said, this is going to take 2 years to get off the ground. So you're talking about 3 swimming seasons to get this situated done. So it's not like we can replace the pool and it's going to be up this swimming season or even up the next swimming season. Okay. The last point I want to make is I understand loss aversion. No one wants to lose something that they currently have, right? It's human nature. We don't want that. Again, I grew up there. I went there. My daughter learned how to swim as an infant there. We utilize that pool and have a history there, but we can't look at it in sentimental value. We can't look at it as that we're losing something and the community's losing something. What we need to do is change the way we frame that question, okay? For the betterment of all of Longview, if we were to build a pool today, would we build it there? And if your answer is yes, you think that's the best place for us to build a pool, if we were building a pool today, then I think you should be in support of it. If you feel like the building it to the level of a neighborhood, like a backyard pool model, to that level, if you think that specifications is the best way to build a pool today, then again, support that option. To me, it's obvious. If we were to build a pool today, we would build it with more amenities, more features, and we can do it for the cost that it would take us to build all the pools and all the different neighborhoods and all the different things and all the stuff and the difficulty of maintaining and keeping those operational and running. And that'll end what I got to say.
Thank you. Mr. Conley.
Yes, I'm sitting in the seat because I feel like children have been uneducated for 28 years. And most of my kids in Pine Tree, 75% are economically disadvantaged. They don't have a backyard pool. Okay, we don't have. I've talked to people that have mentioned to me that since early on in this, I think the pool issue, John, is more about. Maybe we look at it as a parks issue. We've mentioned we need parks, and we need, loss aversion. To me, the issue is we're presented now with losing something, but we don't have an alternative to what we're going to replace it with. It's hard for me to say, hey, yeah, let's close this down without an option. To me, we're trusted to be in this position to create a better place for families and to enjoy. And regardless of whether it's, like Steve said, or Shannon, or even Michelle, we can find alternatives other than just June and July to make a place accessible in this location. You asked the question about the trails, and I can maybe refer to Roland here as far as we did put money into Fairmont Street recently, and opportunities made to increase access with the sidewalks and then the maybe even to the trails, because not only do a lot of my families, and not just my families, I mean, we're throughout Longview, we have a lot of Longview ISD has an even higher economic disadvantage factor. They don't have places where they can just walk down to the street and go to. So if our trail system could access it, I do love what Steve said. We've got the parking lot there. We've got the access. There's a lot of tradition here. To me, it's an action item where you say loss aversion. I just want to make sure that we've got an opportunity to gain something, that we know what we're going to gain before we lose it. And then let's don't lose the trust of the people that are entrusting us to be in this spot, because we haven't done a good job as a city maintaining the tax money that we had to use to keep it maintained and keep it, the reason it's not existing right now. And I look at all these options. I think there's room to be fiscally responsible and try to make it a place. What I see is not just a pool. I want a place like in all the neighborhoods where families can go and be proud of Longview and have an opportunity to have fellowship. As an educator, we only have children a small amount of time, 8 hours a day. When you factor in the school year, there's 171 days, 8 hours a day. I've calculated that to be about 15% of a kid's calendar year. And one of the main reasons I'm sitting here, and I can't sit here and support this, closing down something without an alternative for those families, because we have an obligation for that other 85% of their time. And the better we give them a place to have a strong foundation in the neighborhood and then a community, to me, that's how, that's only the best for the whole city of Longview.
Thank you. Good.
So just to kind of defend my point on this is, I don't think that anyone on this council is against children having pool safety or, teaching kids how to swim or any of those things. And no longer being the rookie on this council, I can say that sometimes when you're going into scary meetings, this is why I call these the scary meetings, the chills throughout the whole audience and, hanging on a thread. But sometimes we have to make hard choices. I think oftentimes people confuse government for private business, and they think that we're going to do it real quick and move real fast. And I wish we could make government move a little faster sometimes. However, I think that we're missing the point on this. I think one point is figuring out what we do with this pool. And if you look at jurisprudence, so things that we've done in the past in order to come up with decisions, the Supreme Court and other governing bodies take similar actions. We're not doing, if we were to say that we close this and make other steps, not having a concrete answer is kind of the point of government. We don't really come up with an answer right now because that wouldn't be fair to the citizens unless we had working meetings or more things to discuss, and I think that we can have those things. However, I think that's a complete separate issue from this issue today. I think the issue is, and the caveat I would like to it is, figure out how we work with Pine Tree, what that looks like. Okay, if we abandon this swim center, is that we fill it up or whatever it means, but that's the role that we're a council manager form of government, had given Mr. McPhee and Mary Ann to negotiate with the school district to see what that looks like. Just because we vote on this today does not mean that we're going to say, oh, Pine Tree, you no longer get a say, this is what we're going to do. No, this is just, literally, if you read the ordinance, consider a resolution specifying course of action with regard to Longview Swim Center and authorizing the direction of the city manager says designated to implement that decision. So basically, it means that we're just giving the power to the city managers to negotiate with Pine Tree to see what it is that they do with this pool. I get it's a sensitive subject. I mean, I grew up at this pool. I've done a lot of praying and thinking on it too, but I think we have to take comprehensive approaches, and I think right now is a perfect time as new movers are coming in, as people are moving back, other people figuring out what that aquatics approach is in this century. I know there's great cities like Sugar Land and other places that are taking innovative approaches, and it's more in regards to private development and working with them, giving those people room to build these community pools, but mainly in other neighborhoods that are being restationed. And however, one comment I'd like to fix is that, sure, we need one in downtown, but we also can't forget Northwest Longview, and I think we can all agree on that. We don't want Northwest Longview to become a ghost town. Kudos to the gentleman who bought that historic center that I think is going to be a great catalyst to continuing to make West Longview great. I have a business in West Longview. I grew up in Pine Tree. I went to South Ward, then Pine Tree, then Spring Hill. I've been in every school district. And I am a product of Longview. And I think the beauty of being a representative republic and having people up here is that we all have varying opinions because we all have constituents who talk to us. So that's just my final comments on this. I don't think anyone's saying they're against children. And personally, I hate those low jab approaches in local, federal, or state government. I think that's not a way to go about addressing this. I think the premise of the issue is okay, we acknowledge we've been bad tenants. What is the solution to Longview? And are we going to acknowledge our council manager form of government to continue? And are we going to allow the city manager and city manager's designee to negotiate an amicable agreement between, which is a mediation, most things are mediated and settled in court, which is what we would be, or whatever we would be doing. So what is that amicable solution? And I think we can't miss that point.
I think, yes, you sure can.
So the term that John used was backyard pools. And so I'm just stating that I'm not wanting it to make a low jab, but the majority of our houses do not have backyard pools. That's my point.
Yeah.
I also want to say that if we're talking about being fiscally responsible, option A is going to, we're making a commitment to, it says $150,000 to close something down that already has access on the parking lot. So I still don't see how that's the most fiscally responsible solution to this in the solutions that we have,
Sure.
without having another option. If you know, and you mentioned we had a nice area that had a 15 million. If that would be presented to us as one of the options and where that's located, I think I could be more comfortable with closing the pool. But we're going to spend $150,000 according to option A for something that already exists that we haven't maintained, and we could invest less money in either option B, C, or D.
Yeah, one thing I do want to clarify is we have been requested by Pine Tree to make a decision. We've received a letter attempting to cancel their lease from their side, and it is not fair, in my opinion, to leave it while we figure out what could take a 12-month or more study. As Michelle's just mentioned, a comprehensive community study is not going to be a quick fix. And it is my opinion that we've lost the pool. I mean, and we have no one to blame but ourselves, but we do not currently have use of that pool. We won't have it for 2 years. So the decision to me is we lost the pool. A vote for option number 1 is not a vote to close the pool indefinitely to me. Option 2 is a vote to spend $2 million to repair the pool to where it would need to be. And I think those are the 2 options that I think we consider, and we look at a community-wide aquatic study that will just take too long to hang up a decision on it. That's my honest opinion. I think it's been unfair that we've let it get to this point. John was first, and then Steve will come to you.
Yeah, sorry. It's a Councilman Conley point. What I'm saying is not to say that the backyard pool, it's not that they're going to have, it's giving them access to a backyard pool. What I'm saying is it's giving them an option for something better. It's giving not only them an option for something better, but it's also making it to where people are willing to travel and to come and to see and be part of it, even those with backyard pools. And that's what the whole thing's about. It's about creating community engagement, not operating in a certain district or silo. It's bringing people together and allowing the community all to benefit and to utilize and to use that thing, just as Longview ISD said, is for all people, instead of just saying it's not just for backyard people without backyard pools. This would help everybody in that sense. And that's, you take Lear Park, you take the splash pads, that you're not competing against backyards. No one has that splash pad arrangement in their backyard. And so what people do is they travel long distances and they will go there because it is an amenity, it's an option that they have, and it brings people together and it combines and brings that community and makes it even stronger, instead of it being where Pine Tree people swim here, my district people swim in Ingram, South Longview people swim here, Gamboa's district swims there. It's, that to me does not build what Mayor Mack asked us to do, and to consider what our options are, what is the betterment for all of Longview, not just for our districts. And that's what I mean by that. Go ahead.
Steve, did you want to add something?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Okay, John, let's put it this way. Say Longview rebuilds their pool on their campus, like it's been said they were going to do. You have to go from her district a long way to get there. She can't just jump on Heritage and run down the road like they can in Spring Hill. You can't just jump on H.G. Mosley and run down the road and then go all the way across 80. You've also mentioned it, putting it on over there in McWhorter Park. Well, there's not a whole lot of place over there unless we start tearing down some softball fields, I'm assuming, maybe. And on top of that is the kids that would want to go to that, ride their bicycles there, walk there, or whatever, like a neighborhood pool, would have to cross a major thoroughfare. That's another danger right there. Right now, the areas I told you about, they don't have to cross anything but Fairmont and maybe H.G. Mosley. And that's a whole lot easier to maneuver than it is a car going 55, 60 miles an hour down the interstate. Now, yeah, it's going to cost us $3 or $4 million to redo that pool. And it may, if we put one on the south side of town, it may cost us $12 million. Anything the city does doesn't make money. It's there strictly for the citizens of Longview. It's a convenience for them. It's not there to break even. The only thing that I've been told in the past is the water. Water and sewer may come close to breaking even. But so anything we do to spend money on is for the convenience of the citizens. Now, I'm looking at kids. I'm not looking at grown-ups getting in a car and taking a kid 10 miles down the other side of Longview to go swimming, because they're not going to do that. They won't do it a lot in Pine Tree, and I doubt they're going to do it over in Shannon's district or Ray's district. I just don't think that's happening. Now, we go back to the lifeguards. Well, who are the lifeguards? The lifeguards are the students that go to school at Longview and Pine Tree and Spring Hill and Hawesville. And when they're in school, we have no lifeguards. We don't have full-time lifeguards. So we use students as lifeguards. So that didn't seem to wash to me the first time that was brought up. Like I say, Pine Tree has been more than willing to give us a 50-year lease last time and had no problems with it. We had no access problems at all. And even with the gates and the fences and everything else that goes up around the schools. And like I say, the people that are getting jilted right now is her district and her district. And we've got a place that's real cheap and convenient and economical to fix. But we go out here and you say the center of town is center of Longview. Where you want to put it out here in the center of Longview? You want to spend $2 or $3 million to bring somebody in here to tell us where we need to put it at? I'm going to definitely be against that, because that would put, even if it's $500,000, that would definitely put me up to close to $1 million probably in consulting fees since I've been on this council, which most of that money has been wasted. I know what the people in my area want, and I think some of these other people do too.
I think that's fine. I think we do need to get back to the agenda item, which only proves the point that on tonight, we are asked to consider what to do with the swim center. We are not considering where it's going to go. If you choose to vote for the pool, that's great. If you choose to vote to abandon the pool, that's great. If you'd like to make a comment on topic, please do so.
No, absolutely. I think we're kind of getting away from what we really initially started discussing with this. And what we initially discussed with this was the simple fact that there's Longview Swim Center. Do we as a city want to invest that money into that location? And it also was a situation that it was not on city-owned property, was a bigger issue. That then B, we could take those funds, invest in a situation that would be on city-owned property, that we would all own, that we would all manage and maintain, and that we would all have access to. And so I think that was the basis of the discussion all this time, and I would like for us to kind of stick to those key items, which is what you just mentioned as well. And I just wanted to reiterate that.
Sure. Mr. Conley's next.
Quickly, I would like to say that Pine Tree ISD, the fact that it's on that property, honestly, to me, it seems irrelevant to the school district. It's been there 50 years or so. So, right. And Pine Tree we don't pay a lease to Pine Tree. It's a place that occupies space there. And I want to bring that up because it seems like it was implied earlier, because Longview ISD has a bond that we would move everything to that area, and that would be what we would use as a city, to use Longview ISD's new swim center.
I think it's just an option.
Yeah, I understand that, but we mentioned
It's an option, and it saves the money that we were looking to spend, that one of those option Bs to get the swim center operating would be at that $4.5 million. And then Longview ISD Swim Center comes to us not at that price.
So, and I want to finish on this.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, I understand. I want to finish on this because I think it's all about trust. We just passed a bond at Pine Tree ISD also, and we had a plan. That's why it works. I'm happy about Longview ISD passing their bond also. Having a plan, to me, is the issue right now. You know, closing something down, we have an option. The mayor mentioned the second option is less expensive. I think it was $2.1 million. We have that we can still have a pool that operates there.
Did you have a comment, Steve?
Spring Hill has no swimming program.
Steve, this is not on topic. We got to stay on.
Well, I know,
Longview
but
Swim Center.
we're trying to, Kristen, no, we're trying to decide.
Point of order, it's actually out
Pine
of
Tree has
order.
passed a bond, and they've got to move forward with their designs. And they've got to have a decision from us.
I agree.
Of what they need to do.
I agree.
So they have very little swimming program. Spring Hill has no swim. How are we going to pay, are the citizens of Pine Tree going to pay Longview for something they don't use? Are the citizens of Spring Hill going to pay them for something they don't use? That's not been worked out.
It's not on the agenda for us to discuss tonight.
Well, I know, but that's something that we're all going to think about.
And we should
And
consider in the future.
the
Yes.
same thing is, this school has got to get on with their bond program
I
and get
agree.
their stuff designed. So we need to figure out what we're going to do.
I agree. Would you like to make a motion?
I would. I'd like to make a motion to close the pool and then start the process to look at a plan for the aquatics program for Longview.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second, but I'd like to take it a step further, and it's I would vote to close to address the pool and take the proper steps to work with Pine Tree to see what their admirable cause is. That's my motion one. And the second part of that motion would be to bring this back within 90 days and give park staff the time to figure out how we handle this. And just a point of order and a point of information, Mr. Albertson did state that there are options. It's not that there are no options. These are the options presented on a vote tonight. He said that there have been identified places where we could put this pool, but that is not the action item we are voting on today. That could be a separate action item. That could be proposed in the second part of the motion, which is in the 90-day plan. We could take those steps forward. So that I second your motion with those edits.
So if I understand it, we have a motion for option A or 1 that would abandon the pool with the amount designated by Mr. Albertson, with a second that would also include to work with Pine Tree to figure out how to do that amicably.
Because if it costs most than $150, I would like for it to be amicable to where they don't get
To allow the
screwed.
city manager to work with Pine Tree to do that in a manner that's agreeable to both sides, and to bring something back to council in 90 days with a proposed plan for how we would deal with aquatics in our community. Does
Agreed.
that sound correct?
Yes.
Okay, I have a second and a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye or raising your hand. Aye. That's 4. Any opposed? Please indicate by saying aye or raising your hand. 4-3, motion passes. Thank you. Next is our items of community interest. Mr. Conley, I didn't tell you that, but we start on your side. Would you like to provide any community items of interest this evening?
I do, and I don't know, is Richard still here? Richard, the guy?
Yeah, Megan will do it for you.
I want to apologize, guys. This is a video that we showed. I really want to let you guys know I don't plan to show a video every time, okay? But we had the end of the year, and I just wanted to show something we showed our staff and highlight some things that happened this year at Pine Tree.
Perfect. Thank you.
Here, Superintendent of Pine Tree ISD. I've been in this business for 33 years. I don't know that I remember a time when there's been more negativity about what schools do or don't do tossed around in the political world. So I'm here today to tell you what we do every day at Pine Tree ISD, because I think you need to know that. You know, every day at Pine Tree ISD, we're teaching kids how to think, not what to think. We're teaching kids how to rise to expectations, not make excuses on why they can't. We're teaching kids how to make good choices and good decisions so they don't have to endure a lifetime of pain from making poor decisions. And we're teaching kids you got to put in whatever amount of work it takes to get the job done, because you can't sit around and wait on somebody else to do it. Basically, we're helping teach kids how to be successful adults. And here's the thing. for the kids that go home to somebody who reinforces this, their future success as an adult is all but guaranteed. But for the growing number of kids that don't have somebody at home to help reinforce that, our job's a lot harder. But it just means that what we do is that much more important, because every kid deserves an opportunity to have a life full of success, but somebody has to teach them how to do it. And that means we all have to do our part to make that happen. That includes the school, parents, the community. So don't ever pass up an opportunity to invest your time and energy in your local public schools, because our kids' future, which is the future of our state, depends on it. Come be a part of Pine Tree ISD.
I just want to add one more thing. Really happy to say that Pine Tree, to anybody in the audience, we're providing meals at no cost for anybody. If it's a visitor, somebody from Longview ISD, White Oak, Spring Hill, we'll be at the breakfast from 7:30 to 8 and lunch from 11 to 12 at our primary campus, our Burge Middle School. That'll be all through June, and then the high school is the rest of the summer, the same times. Actually, breakfast there is 8:30 to 9, 11:30 to 1:45. So if you know anybody that has kids that would like a free meal, we got a couple of them every day, and I'm proud of that in our school district for doing that.
Thank you. Ms. Moore?
No.
Nothing from you? Okay. Mr. Wade?
Yeah, just a quick congratulations and welcome to Councilman Conley and Councilwoman Moore, and yourself as well, Mayor Ishihara. Welcome to the council.
Thank you. Mr. Newstead?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So a couple items. So first, we want to announce that we have a public meeting scheduled for the discussion about the proposed biomining recycling center at 2120 East Loop 281. It's going to be at 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, May 28th, City Hall. So come here if you have any questions or want to learn more about what's going on with that development, or proposed development, I should say. And then also Longview Transit has earned for the second time in a row, they've received a perfect triennial review with 0 findings. The Federal Transit Administration review is an in-depth process, and receiving a perfect report is rare. The FTA triennial review examines all aspects of a transit system, including legal, financial management and capacity, maintenance, procurement, ADA compliance, cybersecurity, transit asset management, and much more. So I want to say congratulations to the entire Longview Transit team for this incredible achievement. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gamboa?
I'd first like to remind everyone and say thank you to our veterans, especially those that have paid the ultimate sacrifice and laying down their lives. Let's not forget that Memorial Day is to honor those who've given the ultimate sacrifice, which is laying down their lives so that we can have freedom such as this, which is to have discussion up here. Second, I'd like to say welcome, new council members and Mayor Ishihara, to the jungle, as like a gentleman said out there earlier. Although we may have varying opinions, I hope we can all remember that ultimately all districts make up one Longview, and we all have varying opinions, but hopefully we can continue to have open and amicable discussion to make good moves for the city of Longview. I would just like to thank everyone. This is a loaned executives picture. Dr. Reverend Evan Dolive and the United Way for the creative approaches they take to bridging the gap between nonprofits, public, and private. A lot of the people around this table are taking a time out of their schedules to be loaned executives, which basically means we're trying to help the United Way advance their mission so that they can be a good community partner. I am a loaned executive representing my business, Shasta Council, so grateful to do that. And thank you to Mr. Bob Watson in the back, who is he works for us, and so thank you to him for participating as well. Speaking of Kentucky and best practices and learning about infrastructure issues, our shelterless populations, and various other issues we're tackling, we went to Kentucky to learn about their best practices and the steps that they're taking forward. I think we do a great job in Longview having a regional approach to things, but also taking the time to invest in education so that we can come back with comprehensive approaches on how best to tackle these issues. District 5, you see that we're under construction a lot, but shout out to our public works. I'm sorry for the way that I look in these pictures. I was not expecting to see them, and I was way too excited these potholes were getting fixed. And if you see the monsoon on Cheryl that's been there for 6 years, it is gone. The monsoon is gone. It's now a beautiful, slick road you can drive down. So I just wanted to thank our public works and thank Dwayne Archer for making that happen. And the other thing, because I didn't realize until I walked in, is Go Panthers. Panthers opened the semifinal series with a win, so way to make East Texas proud. Go Sports.
Ms. Purtle.
Longview lost a gentleman this week. He was a mentor to Pine Tree and Spring Hill. It was Dan Graham. He was a very, very good Christian man, and out of the 4 men that are in my life, he was in the top 4. And he touched so many young men and women's lives in what he did. He was a member of New Beginnings out there. But he touched so many people's lives over 50 years that it's hard to lose somebody like that. And Godspeed to him, and I hope his family has peace with this because they know where he's at. Thank you.
Thank you. Roland, anything from you?
Just one thing, welcome to each of you, new council members and the mayor. It's good to have you all on the team. The other thing that I want to add, I normally don't talk a lot, so surprise. I wanted to really echo, John, you talked about the triennial transit review. That's when the feds come in and look to find something we've done wrong. That's 2 in a row for 6 years that our transit provider has matched that, and that's just not heard of. And I want you to understand the significance of that. And once again, thanks Scott Lewis and the team at Transit. We couldn't do the service that we provide without their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple of items of community interest as well as a sincere thank you. I know this was a stacked agenda, and I am proud of us for having civil discussion, presenting all of our different opinions, and reaching answers at the end. So thank you. I look forward to working with each of you. My items of community interest are the city offices will be closed on Monday, May 27th in honor of Memorial Day. As Ms. Gamboa already mentioned, this is an opportunity not for your day off, but to remember the veterans who gave their lives so that we can live in freedom. So please take a moment to either be with us at Teague Park from 8 till 10, where we will have a ceremony, or remember their memories in your own chosen way. But you are welcome to come attend with us 8 to 10 at Teague Park. Next is permit portal trainings. Now through Development Services, there is permits portal training. It seems like I can't say that, that you can attend and learn how to do permits online. Please see the dates there. More information through Development Services. And last, summer reading program, very exciting. Kid and adult programs through our library. So many wonderful things to do at our library, especially during the summer, but all year round. Come check out what they're doing there. They have amazing programs. And there is a kickoff party for that Friday, June 7th from 10 till noon with registration going on now. Thank you guys for making it till the end. Meetings are not normally this long. I appreciate your patience, your interest in city government, and to everybody, great job. Thank you so much. We're adjourned.